Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at a comparison between two well-aged whiskeys from one of our favorite distilleries, Dustin.
Absolutely.
Talisker. We are going to look at the 25-year 45.7 and the 18-year 45.7. Dustin, we were talking about doing a comparison review, and our buddy Jason compared a bunch of Taliskers, and he said he actually preferred the 18 to the 25, which I didn't necessarily disagree with, but we had a debate about it.
I've never had it together, so
yeah. So we figured we'd try out these two, same distillery, same ABV, same chill filtering, and all that other nonsense, but just different age statements. So
look at this, Mike. Identical color. I wonder why.
We were always a huge fan of the cask strength Talisker 25. But in one of our favorite whiskeys, but not so much this regular 45.7. But we'll compare it to the 18, and you're right, identical whiskeys as far as the color, Dustin.
Yeah.
Really, as far as viscosity.
Just a little backstory on this is I picked this bottle up a few years ago, had it, was not impressed at all, Mike. Set it down, ignored it, came back to it about a year ago, and went from here to the middle of the label and set it aside again.
Sure.
Came back, a few months back, and this was a whiskey I wanted to drink almost every time I'm thinking I'm going to have 4 drinks tonight. This is one that made the list.
Well, Dustin, I picked this whiskey up 3 or 4 years ago. Was not impressed the first time I opened it. Was terribly disappointed compared to the cask strength versions of it, and compared to, though I got a good deal on it, compared to what it normally would cost here locally. Gave it to a friend to review and enjoy. Got it back a year later, tried it again, was equally disappointed. So let's see where we're at today.
This bottle's got a little history with us, too. We had this bottle the first time we ever got together and hung out here at your house.
Talisker 25?
We had this and the 30 side by side.
Sorry I did that to you, man.
That 30 killed this one, I tell you.
And you came back. Okay, so how the bottles are represented here, the same way they are represented in front of us in our Glencairns. So that means the 25 will be here and here, and the 18s will be here and here.
Yep.
All right, so Dustin, let's go younger one first,
sure.
As far as the smell. You still get that buttery note, that buttery Talisker note that you get on the 10, just not nearly as strong.
That is what that is. I was actually thinking, is there something in my glass that's off? No, it's
that buttery note.
It's that butteriness, you're right, yeah. Then, of course, you get in the Talisker spice.
Sure. A little bit of pepper.
You get that warm wood, fruity, citrusy, funkiness.
And again, I love that red berry note in here. People say berry. Some people don't get the berry. Some people just say it's berry in general. I specifically say it's red berry.
The second I poured these, I instantly got a whiff of smoke, although I'm telling you, it kind of goes away.
It does. It has an overall smoke profile. That is smoke halo, not really like a dense smoke like, say, like a Lagavulin or an Ardbeg.
It's like there's a little smoke in there, but it's not just puffing out of your glass. You're not smelling it from any distance.
Maybe at a higher ABV would be different.
I wonder how that would work, Talisker. Maybe you should try maybe making some 25-year-olds at cask strength. See what happens.
See what happens. Maybe the 90s, maybe the early 2000s were the best time for them. Maybe now are. Anyway.
Maybe they'll create a legendary whiskey.
Let's go on the 25 here, bud.
All right.
Almost lighter. More floral.
Definitely, it has a little bit of a... it has like a fresh grape. Like you've just opened white grapes and the skin.
Very light. Very light.
Like a sort of sourness from that.
And actually that butter note is here. It's just way lighter. It's way more tame of a whiskey than the 18. And 18 is quite a bit more tame than the 10.
I'm struggling to nose anything on this whiskey other than just a light bit of oak. And
that's what I've thought from the first time I've ever had this version of the Talisker 25. It's just a light, boring whiskey. It's a little floral. There's a little bit of smoke to it. There's a little bit of seashore brine. I mean, everything feels tired here.
I feel like I need to literally push this into my face to get my nose deeper into it. It's like I need a bigger nose.
I was talking to a guy about a Talisker 25, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for an 07 or another 04. The guy was like, well, hey, man, I found this 11. And I was like, well, I don't understand why you're telling me this. And he was just like, well, this isn't what you're looking for? I'm like, no, I was looking for a cask strength 07 or 04. You're showing me a 45.7% 2011, which had a similar package.
Yeah, you want 01 through 07, right?
Correct, or maybe 08. Point was, he was like, oh, is it really that different of a whiskey? And I said, not only is it a different whiskey, or a different version of or a similar take, it is a completely different whiskey in general than what we currently have.
Yeah.
Night and day. You would guess not even the same distillery.
Yeah, it's getting a little better. I'm starting to pick up a little more nuance, a little complexity in here.
Sure, there's a few things going on. Like I said, it's floral. There's a little bit of that buttery note. There's a little bit of smokiness to it. Blah blah blah. But I mean, and
Yeah, what it's really lacking in my mind is it doesn't. It's got the oak, which this one's maybe lacking in, but it doesn't have that warm tub, just kind of like traditional Talisker, like fruity, funky kind of thing, similar to like Craig Alecky even.
as Talisker gets older, it needs ABV. Period. Now,
When you go back to this one, I am noticing that again, it doesn't have the richness of the oak that I do kind of like here.
and it was that you were back on the 18?
Yeah, I just kind of went back because now the 18, after kind of nosing this one for a while, it's showing its youth a little bit more.
Okay, sure. What I can pick up on the 25 feels older. Sure.
Yeah,
All right, I'm going to go for a sip of the
yeah,
18.
go for it. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, this is definitely just a little more robust. It has more going on, but again, you can tell older, more refined whiskey here, and it's really going to come down to how does it taste.
Yeah. Pepper, a little bit of oak, nice smoky component to it. Nice whiskey. I've also thought the 18 was a really nice whiskey. Get a nice berry note. Get smoked berry, buttery, creamy. Good whiskey.
Incredible mouthfeel for the ABV.
Good whiskey. I've always thought the 18 was good whiskey. I remember this was a whiskey that people hyped up a lot before the first time I had it, right? I found it here locally. It was $170 or whatever.
The finish is killing it for the
It's good whiskey.
for the age. I mean, this finish is really going.
It's good whiskey. But people had built it up in my mind as this epic experience. Because I liked the 10. I think the 10 was the greatest thing ever, but I liked the 10. For a 10-year-old whiskey, it was one of the better 10-year-old whiskeys.
But this is a giant leap from the 10, I think.
Sure. I wanted more, though. You know what in my mind, I guess I was thinking was the difference between Lafroig 10 and Lafroig 18 would be a similar jump between Talisker 10 and Talisker 18.
Yeah, well, the difference there was the ABV, though. You went from 40, 43 to 48.
There are things holding Talisker back, and one of those things is ABV.
I'll tell you what, the finish on this thing is excellent. I mean, it's for me punching well above its weight for an 18-year-old.
Very, very good whiskey. Again, if this was bottled at, say, 48%, and say it was a $150 whiskey at 18 years old, I mean, I think that's where it should be.
Honestly, Mike, if you ask me, what are your top 10 18-year-old whiskeys out there right now? This is probably the top 5.
It's in the top 10.
Just for sure in the top 10, it's going to be in that 5, 6, 7 range.
I mean, there are fewer 18-year-old whiskeys out there, but, I mean, we can debate it another time.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to the 25.
Yep. Go for it.
Just, again, lighter. Lighter, softer.
Yeah.
Feels muted. In every way, it feels muted. And it always feels muted. This isn't the first bottle I've had. It's not the first time I've tried it. Here, locally, in Ohio, this is a $500 bottle. I would be so disappointed with that purchase.
Okay, up front, it's actually a little bolder than the nose indicated, and actually a little more bold than the 18. And then it softens up, almost goes muted, very watery. And then it comes back, good oak tannins, nice lingering finish. But this comes off so much thinner, lighter, and more watery. This has beautiful, creamy richness. In fact, again, for under 46%, this is incredibly creamy. Not at all.
This should have been a more viscous, oily experience because the ABVs are the same. Maybe older Talisker doesn't handle water very well. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it thins it out. Maybe it's, it unravels it quickly. I'm not sure. But you're right. This comes off at the same ABV thinner, despite the fact that it's roughly 7 years older. And that shouldn't correlate. Am I wrong?
I wouldn't. Usually it doesn't. Now, what was the 30? Was it the same ABV?
Yeah. It's different. You know what?
I
that
distinctly remember the 30 being much bolder and richer than this.
Well, it's definitely better whiskey, that's for sure. And it was much bolder. It's hard to not be bolder than this whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, again, up front, it did have a nice initial flavor, nice sweetness, but
Yeah, gone.
gone.
Like
it just snaps, and then
Super short
And
finish.
I'm telling you, Mike, it went to like when I first started to swallow. I mean, it was even before I started to swallow. It disappeared.
Insubstantial.
I went to swallow, and that's usually when I get like a whole change of the flavors as it kind of moves back in your tongue. I'm telling you, I couldn't taste that there was anything. I thought there was water in my mouth. It was that substantially a drop. And then again, it came back, gave me something. Wow. Do you even want to try adding water to these things to make it?
I put water in. You know what I will tell you about the Talisker 25? It brought me back to a movie a cartoon animated movie that my younger sister used to like to watch when I was a kid. Now, growing up in the 80s, we didn't have multiple TVs, right?
Sure.
So there was this cartoon movie called The Last Unicorn. And it was about this unicorn, there was a princess, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they're at this castle, and they got to go through this doorway, right? And there's a skeleton. And what he wants for passage through the doorway is wine. And they say, you're dead, you can't taste it anyway. And he says, no, but I can remember. So bring me an empty bottle of wine so I can remember what it's like to drink wine, even though there's nothing in it. And that's what I think when I drink this whiskey. That and having to watch my sister's terrible shows because everyone had like their time to watch TV. And she picked a terrible movie and watched it repeatedly for an entire summer. I can just absolutely recite that movie.
The water did help. It kind of spread the flavor out a little bit at the 25. So it doesn't go dead in the middle, but it brought out tannins. It brought out some bitterness. I did get a little hit of tropical fruit that wasn't in the 18 at all. Just a little touch up front. Actually enjoyed it. It was a nice little something.
All right. All right, Dustin. As always, with the Versus series, if you're at a bar, someone's picking up the tab, you don't care what it costs.
Yeah.
You just want to drink it.
Yep.
Which one are you picking?
The 18 doesn't just win, guys. It absolutely destroys the 25.
Yeah, I don't know what place the 25 has other than just simply the age statement at this point with the current bottlings of Talisker. It offers nothing in terms of uptick as far as ABV from the 18, flavor from the 18. There is nothing, there is no reason, if you enjoy the 10 and the 18, there's no reason to go up to the 25. I would go up to the 30, but the 25, why? There's nothing here.
I almost wish we had a bottle for this, Mike, to do it right now, and that is to pour Glenfarcless 25 next to this.
I figure, what is the worst 25-year-old
Yeah.
whiskey? It is worthy.
Like,
you guys
I
want to
legitimately...
see? You guys want us to figure out what the worst 25-year-old whiskey is we can.
Because the thing with the Glenfarclas was it's so super low ABV. Mm-hmm. We know it's tired cask. That thing comes off worse.
It does.
Considerably.
I can remember. That was the line. Anyway, every time I drink that, I thought that. Those are our thoughts.
Yeah.
Weird review, but here we are.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, Mike. This is one of the biggest landslides we've ever done on
Yeah, and from the same distillery, the same ABV, the younger whiskey's that much better. Seriously? This is where we're at? But
yeah.
Balvenie was the same way with the single barrels.
But at least those are single barrels. And one was discontinued.
Sure, there's some variants. Sure.
Yeah.
We can pretend that maybe that isn't the norm.
Well, we could at least say that you let a few barrels slip that you shouldn't have. Okay, fine.
Sure. Don't spend the money on the stock for 25. I spent $250 and I'm still disappointed.
I was going to say, this is not $200 whiskey.
I spent $250 and I'm still disappointed.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Anyway, I'd like to know what you guys think if you had a chance to try these whiskeys or if you're a Talisker fan in general.
Yeah.
And Dustin, until next time, what do we wish the folks?
Happy drinking.
We'll see you then.